Okay, so it's day one at World Aviation Festival here in Lisbon. There's going to be something like 6,500 people coming to Lisbon over the next 3 days to learn all about the world of aviation. I'm on the Volantio stand. I'm with Azim Barodawala.
Very good. Wow, that was great.
It was. I've been practicing.
Yeah.
Who is the chief executive and founder of Volantio. He's just come off stage actually this morning, did a presentation alongside Canada, which we'll talk about that. But just very quickly, just introduce us to Volantio and what it is that you do.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lee. And we really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys. So I like to think of Volantio, my co-founder and I, we really like to think of it as a company of alchemists. And so what is that alchemy? What does that look like? What we do is we find flexibility in passengers' travel plans, and we have a strong thesis and belief that passengers are way more flexible than you would think. And then as any good alchemist would, we transform it into something. And we transform that flexibility into either profit or some sort of an operational benefit for the airline, while also delivering an exceptional passenger experience and benefit to the passengers as well. So it's really a true win-win.
Yeah.
And I might ask you a question back, which we can get to now or in the future, which is, if I were to ask you a question, which is, what percentage of people out there do you think would be flexible with their travel plans if offered a reasonable benefit?
Yeah.
Which is, we did a global survey, over 2,000 people globally. We asked, age-adjusted, income-adjusted. At some point, either now or in the future, I'd love to know what your guess is. What percentage?
Okay.
Off the top of your head.
I'd go low, to be fair, because I'm thinking about my own travel. If I'm traveling for holidays, I have a set day I have to leave, a set day I've got to come back. If I'm traveling for work, it's pretty similar. So my inclination would be to go fairly low. I mean, I'm not, 10% or 12%, something like that. But I think you're going to tell me more. Yeah,
it's actually a little bit higher than that.
Yeah.
It's actually 87.
Okay.
87% of people, 87% of people have flexibility in their travel plans.
And is that all the way up to the point of travel, or is it at some point during the process? I mean, obviously, the more you get less flexible, the closer you get to the day of travel.
And that's a really big insight. I mean, I go to that number because we built our entire business around that, right? Leveraging that flexibility, transforming that flexibility. And obviously, as you get close, when you're sitting in the airport, I have 3 kids, I want to go. Yeah. But if you reach out to somebody with the right offer, maybe 5 days before departure, even 2 days, even 1 day before departure, and you offer them a confirmed seat on another flight and a moderate benefit, they're going to go. What do you think is the average compensation that people will accept for, based on machine learning and our artificial?
Is this to forfeit their seat for another flight, or?
I mean, forfeit is kind of a heavy word, but yes, I would say
volunteer, not
volunteer.
Fly.
Yeah, volunteer. Yeah. To take another flight.
Well, look, I funny enough, a friend of my dad's, I remember, always used to book his holiday to the States with some flexibility, because he would always put his name forward to volunteer not to get the flight he flew back on. And he would always get his next flight going out the next year for free because of that. So maybe that's where it is. Give me a flight for free if I decide to volunteer myself. I don't know.
It's actually $25.
Okay.
And many people will move for nothing.
Okay.
Because they feel like they got choice in the matter, and they were treated well by the airline. And that, again, is a critical insight that we've come to, which is that people have flexibility, and oftentimes it's all about just being respected by the airline and by being given a little bit of choice. It's not about the money.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting.
So your job is to sell this to the airlines. The airlines need to say, this stuff works. It is alchemy. It turns nothing into gold for us, or revenue. So
flexibility.
So what is it that the airlines are starting to realize this kind of thing works? So, for instance, Air Canada, who you spoke about this morning, what have they realized you do for them in terms of, I guess, revenue optimization, which is what we're talking about?
Yeah, actually, Air Canada hasn't started with a revenue use case from the start. I mean, they have started with, how do we use this tool to alleviate some of the pressure on our frontline staff, either our call center or our airports, because airlines plan and then things change, right? So for their call centers, they constantly are dealing with issues where the airline plans, they set the schedule, but then they have to swap out an aircraft, right, from a bigger one to a smaller one. These are the mundane things that happen day to day at a carrier that sometimes they forget about. Or they're payload restricted on a flight.
Yeah.
And so rather than having to call people, which they've been doing, now they use our tool to solicit these volunteers who then are happy to volunteer. They've also used this at the airport at the last minute to provide their gate agents, transform them from being auctioneers, right, which sucks, honestly, for them, to having the ability to actually have a pre-selected list of people who've already said yes ahead of time. And that really improves the frontline staff experience as well as the experience of the passengers.
Yeah. So how is this, the airlines you work with, there's a number of them, it's not just Air Canada, but Air Canada's the one you spoke about with today. How is that transforming their operations? I mean, are they now looking at their cabin configuration and saying actually it has an impact on the kind of seats we have available, because we know we can bring people up into the higher end cabins potentially? What's it doing to their operational? Is it making it more complicated, or is it actually making things a little bit more seamless and
I think
frictionless?
Based on the numbers that Air Canada has shared with us, what they're seeing is a significant simplification of their operation. Air Canada has told us in terms of pre-moving passengers off of flights, that operational use case, that they have seen a decrease of 24,000 calls. I'm talking about in less than a year that are avoided, that they would have had to make outbound calls to try to find people, and over 2,500 people that were automatically moved, which would have had to have been rebooked, many of these taking a lot of time to do. In terms of the airport, over 4,000 flights that they don't have to have their gate agents action today from scratch, and over 8,000 people moved. And again, we're just getting started with them, right? We're just ramping it up.
Right. You've coined the term re-commerce with this. It's another bit of jargon, but explain what do you mean by re-commerce?
Well, I mean, again, I'm always a little hesitant to that was more of a marketing term than anything else, but I'll stick with it. It's essentially it's a play on words of e-commerce. I mean, essentially, the re in that is it's a tip of the hat to the fact that you're rebooking, folks. You're rebalancing the aircraft. You're resolving, many sort of operational challenges. There's a lot of re's in there, so then we use those re's into this. Yeah. But at the end of the day, whatever you want to call it alchemy, call it re-commerce. It's about delivering results and solving real life problems, which is RE. For
results is an RE as well. So. And the key one as well.
For our customers, and that's the only thing I care about.
And just a final thought on the technology. Your website says, like many companies these days, AI is involved.
Of course.
There's a lot of cynicism about AI, but it's with us, and it's only going to get better. I've no doubts about that, because that's the whole point of it. It gets better as it learns more. What is AI doing for you? And when people come to you and say, I'm not sure about AI, I've got my doubts about it, how do you get over those pushbacks on AI at the minute?
Yeah, look, I mean, AI at the end of the day is really, it can mean so many different things to different people. It can mean, for some folks, typing in a query into ChatGPT, which is a great example of generative AI. We use a lot of AI today at the start of the process to figure out what are the right flights to target and why, right? Again, why would you target one flight and not something else? Yeah. What's the right compensation to offer and why?
It's about bringing intelligence to the human layer, actually.
But that's where we are today. Yeah. Where we're going to be tomorrow is entirely different. And I think that's the thing that, as the CEO and the kind of the person who needs to be charged with looking forward, gets me so excited, because I'm thinking about Volantio as a company that has a number of different offerings to customers: a post-booking revenue offering, this idea of pre-moving people off of flights, the idea of helping them avoid denied boardings, all of these types of things that today are very popular as solutions and are united by a common backbone. But what agentic AI is going to do, which we're already working on and gets us very excited, is creates basically a master orchestration agent that sits underneath these processes and unites them all together. So essentially, it is something that says, wait, is this the right point to step in to offer a revenue generation offer? Or is this actually not the right point because we're predicting that down the line the flight's actually going to be fine and we should hold out, at which point maybe we're going to do a an operationally challenged offer, right?
Yeah.
Or a overbooking offer. And I think there's a ton of opportunities there for all of that.
There's a lot of predictive in this, isn't there? It's predicting the future, and if the future is predictable, life's a lot easier. Final word before we finish on this week's show. One of the biggest of the year. A lot of people come to this show every year. What do you hope to get out of this over the next 3 days?
I wish I could show you the photos of when we came here in 2016 because that was the first time we came. It was almost 10 years ago. Today, almost 10 years later, the show feels like it's like a reunion every year, you know. So we'll meet new people. We'll be super excited. We're going to do a really cool dinner, tonight. But my favorite thing about this is actually seeing all the familiar faces. Asking about their kids, are they growing? Having them ask about our kids.
The family back together.
You know, and that's what I love the most about it. To me, honestly, that is it. But also, there's a great opportunity to learn what other people are doing and really get a vision into what the future is going to be. We'll talk about our vision for the future, and there's so many other people here doing the same, and it's a great learning opportunity as well.
There's loads of visions out there, and it's whether they all combine into a single overall vision. So, look, Azim, thanks. Our time is up, but thanks for inviting us onto your stand today, and it's good to speak to you.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Yeah,
thanks. Cheers, Lee. I appreciate it.
Okay, it's still day one here at World Aviation Festival in Lisbon, and I'm now joined by Irra Ariella Khi, who is the founder of a company called Zamna. So, Irra, just very briefly, tell us what Zamna is and what you do.
Zamna helps human agents in the airport replace 100% of their work with AI agents so that they can service passengers and customers for the airline.
Okay.
Instead of digging through your visas, documents and having a passport check at the airport, Zamna AI gives the airline the best check-in ever in the airport.
Right.
None at all. So you can go straight through and or you can get the assistance you want.
So it's human-free, but it's not about replacing the human. It's about doing the things that maybe humans don't need to be doing and allowing them to do other things that are maybe more valuable for the airline.
There's plenty of things from a security perspective that humans are very good at, that AI can't do, and there's plenty of things from a service perspective that human agents have to do, but they don't have enough hands at the moment, especially with changing regulations.
Okay. Look, I've known you for a while. When I first got to know you, a company called VChain.
That's right.
There is a story.
We're going way back.
It is. I've got a good memory of these things. Yeah. But going back to VChain, that emerged in a period when we were, just like we're talking about AI today, we were talking about blockchain then.
Yes.
Now, blockchain, no one talks about blockchain anymore.
No.
However, it's still there and it's still very much part of what you do. So explain where blockchain is today, because if you think, the fact that no one talks about it today, you think it's gone away, but it's not. It's still there, isn't it? And it's still doing what everyone said it would do.
I like the way that I think you and I described it before. It's gone on an S-curve. It's become buzzword, blockchain, everyone wants it. Now it's part of the infrastructure. Yeah. It's a security layer. It's also a decentralized layer. And Zamna AI has always had a blockchain element to its tech stack, and we still do today. Yeah. It's just something that we use to secure data and to decentralize it, and a lot of other agencies and software developers have that as well. Yeah. It's just not popular anymore. Yeah. The way that agentic AI is, or machine learning, or
trends move on.
MLLs.
People get bored of things, don't they? But it is becoming embedded into the fabric of how you run an airline, for instance. Maybe 100%. Not in the way people predicted at the beginning, but it's found its use cases.
The use cases we see are really the least sexy and interesting ones for blockchain. Okay. It's an infrastructure play. It's where you have a lot of important but very boring things, or very siloed data sets that need to talk together and to collaborate together. Blockchain is very good at managing without centralizing them as a target in one place that's vulnerable to attack. That's what airlines and air travel companies now use blockchain for.
Okay, so tell us about where Zamna is today. You've got a number of airline partners already on board. Some of you've announced, some you haven't announced, but I know you've got some big players you're working with. What are you doing for those airlines, and who are you talking about? How many airlines do you work with today?
So we have about a dozen clients, of which 2 are here today that I've seen. One of our European clients that we've most recently announced is called Iberojet. They have a very complex route. They fly to Latin America from Europe. That is long haul. It's extremely complex in terms of documentation. Colombia, for example, has 4 types of national ID alone in one country, which is extremely complex. And Zamna takes all of those documentation requirements and individualizes the flow for each passenger Iberojet checks in. So if you're flying, or I'm flying with, for example, all 5 of my children with different ages, I don't have to be a detective, and neither does the airline agent, because normally airline agents have to be detectives checking your status. Are you orange conditional? Are you blocked because you haven't applied for something which it's too late in the airport to apply for?
Right.
Or are you green if you're flying back to your home country?
Yeah.
So Zamna AI takes all of that and removes that work from the check-in agents.
Yeah.
So you do come to the airport ready to fly.
There's more complexity actually than maybe, I guess me as a British traveller, I don't really come across this very often, but there actually, when you look at it, there's huge complexity out there. And
this is right, and this is also why Zamna's latest client, which is orders of magnitude bigger than Iberojet, is a national flag-carrying airline in Latin America, who have that complex demographic of documentation, who are very close to the border with a certain administration that's very specific as to the requirements and the strictness of those requirements for travel going south to north in the Americas. And wherever regulations are tightest, that's where Zamna AI helps the most.
Yeah. So without using Zam, prior to this, it was all manual.
Yep.
Mistakes will be made, and things just wouldn't have been done that needed to be done.
And airlines pay, Lee.
And they're on the hook.
Pay
right, okay.
millions in fines.
This is the critical thing.
This is the critical thing.
It costs them a lot of money when they don't get it right.
An awful lot of money, because it's ICAO Article 27 obligation on these wonderful airlines who are essentially operating flying buses to ensure that the data that they send to the government of the destination, transit or not, is complete and eligible for the passenger to enter. What they do get is inadmissibles. They also have to pay for transporting those people back. They have to pay a fine to government services, and their landing rights can be impacted.
Okay.
And the more complex the regulation, the more of a mess you're in. So the UK introduced a visa in April this year. The Europeans have just introduced the entry-exit scheme. They're also introducing a European visa, so Brits like you and I will need to get a visa to go anywhere in Europe. So it will become more relevant. Hence our first European client.
There's some weird things. There's some things out there still, I think, a hangover from COVID, where you've got to fill in health forms.
That was schizophrenic. At its height, the Zamna AI digital travel rules engine, which is incomparable. Thematics is about 20% of what we do at Zamna's travel rules engine. At its height, we were changing and updating those regulations 1,000 times a day.
Okay.
It was truly impossible for a human being to cope with.
It was an insane period
That's
of
where
time.
the build started, We had a really horrible COVID, actually, Lee. We almost died, and some of our investors, including Julia Sattel, who you profiled, very bravely said, forget building a unicorn era, just be a cockroach, survive COVID. It was awful, but it also pushed our product to the limit. If the regulations are changing at 4 a.m, overnight from another country, and that happens 1,000 times in one day, because there's about 300 ICAO countries, you need to build software that really automates that process and also take liability for that process. And Zamna, actually, this is very important, what I know is nobody else takes liability for clearing passengers apart from Zamna.
Right.
If there is anybody you come across in the industry who does, please introduce them to me. What I know for sure is no one takes liability. No company that says, Lee, we'll clear your passengers, let's do it for you.
And you can only do that because you're confident you'll get it right most of the time, if not all the time.
Because we've built our own travel rules engine. Because we have our own machine learning and AI processes to digitize all of that end to end. And we clear the passengers into the DCS.
Right.
No competitor on the planet can do that, because it's an awful lot of R&D and hard work.
You mentioned AI, and everyone's talking about AI, and it's the latest buzzword. Everyone knows that. And
everyone's an expert on AI.
The danger is that's all it's about. But actually, it's real. You're using it, and it is real. It's not fantasy or vaporware. What is AI doing for you generally, in practical? Really practically, what's it doing for you?
So we have to be very honest about machine learning and AI. There are two different things, and we use elements of both to do two things. Number one, to make sure that our travel rules are digital and up to date. That is extremely complex to do, because governments change travel rules and they'll issue contradicting or conflicting travel rules or conflicting visa requirements. And we do that globally with the Zamna AI digital travel rules engine. Again, amazingly, Thematic is only doing 20% of that. We really wanted to use a third party, couldn't, had to build an AI agent ourselves. And the second one is individualization. So if you're on a booking with children or somebody older, or a booking that goes to multiple touch points, you have to have a flow and experience that's deeply individual to you. If as an airline you're checking in 30 million passengers a year, you're not going to change your flow. Whereas Zamna AI, with the agent that we do replace that manual work with, we can completely individualize it and give you examples of, this is the next document after your passport that you need to present. It might be one of these 5 residence permits, and Zamna's AI agent will actually surface you visual examples. It might be these cards that you have. And then the flow is individualized to clear you to fly and for Zamna to take liability for saying, yes, Lee's good to go. Yeah. Those are the two places we use it.
And I know, so this digital identity and checking in is a application. When you digitize someone's persona and their details and you've done it in a secure blockchain way, then you can do a lot more with this. I know that the vision for this could go into other areas. You talked about what maybe is happening in places like the Middle East, where you've got carriers working with hoteliers and the whole end-to-end journey. So what is the future for this? How is that? Where can we take this?
I will go back to your question about blockchain. Do you remember we talked about decentralized data sets that need to play nicely together? Same use case. Yeah. Why are we taking an identity check for an airline, then forgetting we've done it, then saying, Lee, welcome to this country. In order to access your hotel, tell us again who you are, and then to rent a car, tell us for the third time. It makes no sense, because those are originally siloed and commercially sensitive things. Because at Zamna, we don't share or process any data worth stealing. We can share the green tick that Lee has been cleared to travel with this suite of documentation, and that can be shared across multiple parties with your consent, of course, to say you've satisfied all the ID requirements. You don't need to queue and recheck them. Nobody I know likes queuing for car hire and hotel check-in after they've flown for a long distance destination.
And that's that vision of the seamless, frictionless travel of the future.
Frictionless, but with shared strategic knowledge. Instead of data, you share strategic knowledge. And that's what Zamna AI enables.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about Zamna, but you're also here. You're here to talk about Zamna to lots of people, I'm sure, and you will do. But you're also moderating a session, a whole bunch of sessions this afternoon on innovation, just to our right, aren't you?
That's right.
So you're not a startup anymore. You said you're beyond startup, but you were a startup. You've been a startup for a long time, and as you said, went through a period when you had to be a cockroach.
Horrible.
Just give us an idea of what it's been like to build a business in an aviation sector, which is full of big guys, very big brands, very big companies that we know. The sense is they dominate. But you've had to come along and establish something from scratch. So how's that been? Is the industry welcoming of that? Do you think there needs to be more of it happening?
I love this question because this is the two sides of the coin that I'll be addressing in hosting the Innovation Summit. We have the startup side and we have the investor side. So IAGI Ventures will be doing a fireside chat with myself. Starburst is going to do a fireside chat with me. And then we have our panel. And then we have the startup pitch competition, which actually Zamna won under a different name in 2017, going back a while.
When you were VJing.
That's right, a very, very long time ago. And what you see is that the ecosystem has matured, for sure. When we were going through the first ever airline accelerator in 2016, it was IAG and no one else doing it. Now Lufthansa has one, Qantas has one, every airline, you name it, has an innovation division. But this is 11 years later, of course. So the ecosystem has matured. I think the startup mindset going into airlines does need to be very different to any other startup. You cannot move fast and break things. You can't. The industry has never ever paused, and like COVID would have you believe, never paused. Airlines will never have their systems go down to test your innovation quietly on a Saturday afternoon and then reboot everything on a Monday.
There's no room for failure, is there, like you say?
No. Very, very, very critical national infrastructure. So as clients, they have to have a lot of proof points. So we used to offer, for example, free pilots. We don't do that as Zamna anymore. We don't need to. We go straight to contracts, but we will always have an initial, very limited scope, O&D, origin destination, normally a very difficult route for our clients, to prove out the business case internally. Most airlines don't care what works for the airline next door because they are different in a different country, owned by different people. A lot of the time governments are involved. So you have to de-risk yourselves as much as possible, and that's the number one thing I learned. You cannot be seen as a risky startup who's going to move fast and break things in the way that they say about Silicon Valley. You have to be careful, mindful, hire people from inside the industry only, and you know some of the people I've poached during COVID, it was great for hiring COVID for us. And you have to realise that you are never going to get them into a startup mindset because they are critical national infrastructure most of the time. So you have to go very slowly and raise patient capital that's strategic to help you get through it.
Good. We're slightly over time, but one last final point on the show. First day, I think tomorrow's going to be an even busier day. What do you expect to get out of the 3 days at World Aviation Festival?
I have already had the pleasure of meeting a lot of clients who are either already with us or in our pipeline, and I think events like this where everybody's here, literally, you cannot take 2 steps before somebody says, oh, I've seen you on Zoom calls or on video, hello, finally we meet in person. I think that is still priceless. It's really, really great. A lot of conferences don't have the right seniority of people attending, World Aviation Festival, I find we do.
It does.
We really do find decision makers, C-levels, and that's useful and very meaningful.
It's finding them amongst the 6,000 people that are here. But
why do you think I'm wearing red? Okay. They can find
you stand
me.
Out, and you're on stage later as well.
They can find me, but also we have the networking app. It's very useful. You've got the networking tables.
Yeah.
It really has been good.
Yeah. Good.
My team have been doing it all day. It's efficient, which I really like.
Excellent.
Efficiency is great.
Well, have a good 3 days. Enjoy it, and good to see you again, Irra, and best of luck. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're joined to the end here in day one at World Aviation Festival in Lisbon. There's a drink going on stands around us. It's been a good, busy day. I'm joined on the Swiipr stand by Tara Spielhagen, who is the co-founder of Swiipr. Tell us what Swiipr is, first off. What do you do?
Swiipr is a digital payments platform that basically enables airlines to very swiftly, instantly compensate passengers around the world in under 90 seconds, really.
Okay, so you've been involved in the irregular options track. You've just come off stage talking about this whole area.
Yeah.
Why is getting a handle on irregular issues, operations with airlines? Why is that so key today?
It's absolutely key because you actually have this amazing opportunity, unlike many other areas of the industry, where you're actually turning disaster, anger, pain, and you have the potential to turn it into delight. There's no better moment. If you can turn around a negative experience, that is vastly more, important in terms of NPS scores than just a normal experience.
Yeah, you can actually drive loyalty that way, can't you?
You can actually drive loyalty.
If you turn, because travel is a lot of anxiety related to travel. Everyone feels it. The anxiety of getting to an airport, the queues you're going to face and all that. So travel's got this innate anxiety and everyone hates it, hates elements of it.
Yeah.
So if they've got a brand that actually makes that easier, you feel that they're on your side almost, and you're fighting your corner.
Yeah, you have a captive audience because you have a lot of people that are either delayed or have their luggage lost or etc. denied boarding.
Yeah.
And you have this amazing opportunity to really engage deeply with them, take care of their problems, and it's all people want to be heard. It's about communication and resolution, but people want to be humanized.
Yeah.
They're not just an afterthought. Oh, call our claims department. Oh, good luck. When you proactively care for them, that absolutely drives loyalty.
So what's different about Swiipr? There's other brands out there doing not dissimilar things. So what is Swiipr doing that's different and unique to everyone else?
I would slightly argue. I think the other brands are doing things quite differently. Obviously, there's space for everyone. Mainly what we do is, number one, we're absolutely global. So we operate all over the world. We're able to issue anywhere in the world. Also, we get your money to you generally in under 90 seconds, which no one else can do.
So when you say to you, that's the consumer.
To you as the consumer. And number three, we were built for airlines. Very, very specifically, our team is made up of people that understand airlines, that worked in airlines. So we're a very, very specific platform that understands the needs of a regular operation.
Yeah. Maybe sort of almost counterintuitively, there's a truth in this that if the airline's good at paying out, they end up paying out less, potentially. Is that kind of, is there a counterintuitive there? That if you're good at this, if you go in there proactively and look after the customer, you actually save money by doing this?
Well, actually somebody on my panel just made a beautiful comment. They said you can either pay forward or pay backwards. You're going to pay either way.
Yeah.
So by paying backwards, the claims process itself generally is about 45 to 50 pounds a claim. So by the time you've done heat, light, power, claims department, a lot of the cases go to litigation, etc. You're spending an enormous amount of money actually paying out.
Yeah.
Now people know their rights.
Yeah.
And of course you have flight claims company coming and, making sure that every consumer knows what their rights are. So the stakes have changed now. So it's an enormous cost to airlines. All that manual, process, paper vouchers, reconciliations. When you take all of that away and you replace it with a digital solution and it's proactive, you're paying much less.
Yeah, it's those manual processes. I think when I saw you a year and a bit ago, we talked about how those manual processes are still rife within aviation. I mean, handing out vouchers and physical checks in airports. I mean, this is stuff from the 1960s almost, isn't it? But there's a lot of that still goes on in airlines today.
A huge amount.
Yeah.
So, some airlines will have like one person in every single airport around the world actually handling paper vouchers. So you can imagine that human capital, every airport, you have one specific person. Yeah. Then you have the retailers who are suffering because those paper vouchers are getting lost behind the till. There's massive arguments between the retailers and the airlines. on reconciliation. So it's
open
just
to
it's
fraud
a
as well, obviously. How do you track it?
Bank transfers, hugely insecure. Why are we getting people's personal bank details in this day and age? Also handling bank transfers to people around the world. First of all, not everybody has a bank account. Some people bought their ticket in different ways. Secondly, very, very error-prone, fraud-prone, manual, etc. So, we're really replacing quite sort of, it may seem modern systems, but even those are not really fit for purpose in a global world where we have to get things to people very quickly.
What's going on? It's a tech that's driving this as well. Modern tech is allowing these sort of things to happen. So you're a tech company, you're developing the technology, you're developing the platform. What are you looking to develop? Presumably AI is involved. Everyone seems to be involved in AI. Is that the case? You've got AI
to an extent.
Doing some of this
to an
work?
extent, yeah. I think we have to be careful, particularly the industry we're in, because when passengers are really, really, really upset, etc., we're giving a service. So we need to make sure that we use AI in a way to optimize and make our services more efficient, rather than add any other potential pain point to the passenger. So certainly in terms of that. More automated, efficient, streamlined process.
So you were on a panel earlier talking about how airlines maybe have an opportunity with irregular ops coming. They're going to happen anyway. So it is a potential opportunity. What was the general feeling on that? What was the sort of message on that panel that people were talking about? What was the
I think
main
it
message?
was a fantastic panel. I mean, basically, everybody was aligned on two things, I would say. One is simplicity, giving the end customer a very simple solution that they can believe in wherever they are in the whole world. They get that same kind of experience. And that's number one what we want, because it's a trust factor. The passengers already traveling, going through all sorts of stuff, and then to be thinking which airline does what, and how do I navigate this landscape? Not great. So simplicity, definitely. And then I think also collaboration. I think more and more suppliers and airlines need to collaborate together. So I think those were two of the main messages. And then thirdly, of course, it really is about the digitization and the ability to use digital to actually free up your staff to take care of more complicated cases, and really humanize.
That need that face-to-face interaction.
Face-to-face, So take away the manual stuff, get rid of that, and then really, really focus on that extra mile and that customer care. Sorry, and then I guess the last point really is there's a mountain of growing evidence now that, turning this negative experience into a positive really drives NPS. NPS in turn drives loyalty, and loyalty drives share of wallet and increased revenue. And I think that's the most important point. Airlines actually have an opportunity to control the narrative, to get ahead of it now. Everybody knows IROPS is not going away, but hear me, take care of me, humanize me, interact with me, engage with me, and you can completely change the narrative.
There's a sense, a few of the conversations we've had today is that we're in a period where adoption of tech, digitization there's been a long period of talking about it, a lot of the theory has been talked about. The aviation industry is quite often slow to move for obvious reasons, and usually very good reasons as well, because they can't afford to take too many risks. But then maybe we're in a period where people are trying to grasp this nettle now, and there is a degree to which we're moving into actually the practice of bringing technology into doing certain things. Do you feel that's where we are in an industry, that we're now grasping this and airlines are prepared to sort of invest in technology?
Absolutely. I think COVID was obviously the really big catalyst for this, and we realized because basically it was the finance department and the tech departments that were still continuing, and they were able to really look holistically across the business and go, okay, there must be a way to streamline more, to make things more efficient, and technology is a huge enabler for that.
So I said we're near the end of day one. It's been a relatively busy day. I think tomorrow is meant to be even busier. They're talking about 6,000 people coming through the show over 3 days. So that's a lot of people. What's the general sort of feeling you get being here this week? Is it one of quite? It's always positive because when people get together, they tend to be positive. But what do you take away from the first day, and what you're hoping for the next 2 days?
Look, I think it's always really, really exciting just to have everybody in the world coming together to solutionize. So I think it's a really creative festival. People are sharing ideas, solutions, etc. I think it's also really heartwarming to see the emphasis that is actually put on irregular operations now in service recovery.
Right.
and seeing that at the center stage where it's been a poor cousin for so long. It was always about the payments. It was never about the payouts. How do easy to get a payment in now? That's quite a nice well-heeled product, but how do you get it out, and how do you get it out to anybody around the world and give that common experience? So really, really glad to see service recovery at the center stage of this conference.
Cool. Well, we hope for a productive 3 days, and thanks for joining us on ABN Cast.
Thank you so much.
Okay, cheers. Thank you.
Much appreciated.